محمد وآل محمد صلوات. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم. لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين الرشد من الغي فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور والذين كفروا أولياءهم الطاغوت يخرجونهم من النور إلى الظلمات أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. محمد وآل محمد صلوات. الفاتحة.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
عليك يا أبا عبد الله I will beseech you, I will grieve you into the night. I will beseech you, I will grieve you into the night. You are my master, I am alone, I call on to you. You are my master, I am alone, I call on to you, because I will be with you till the end, Hussain. In my eyes there's always tears of pain, like a river flows for your love, Hussain. Every broken heart cries out your name, cries out your name. روحي وقلبي لديك صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا أبا عبد الله روحي وقلبي لديك sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, ya Aba Abdullah. From your shine I come back to stay apart. The flames of your love ignites my heart. Your name gives meaning to my soul. To you I raise my hands and call. From your shrine I come back to stay apart. The flames of your love ignites my heart. Your name gives meaning to my soul. To you I raise my hands and call. Mere Mola Ya Hussain Jan, Mere Mola Ya Hussain Jan, Hussain Janam, Hussain Janam. My tears for you will never dry. Mere Mola Ya Hussain Jan, Mere Mola Ya Hussain Jan, Hussain Janam, Hussain Janam. My tears for you will never dry. Ruhi wa qalbi ladayka, sallallahu alayka, ya Aba Abdullah, ya Aba Abdullah. Ruhi wa qalbi ladayka, sallallahu alayka, ya Aba Abdullah, ya Aba Abdullah.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat.
Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad salawat. Ya Rabbul Mashraqain, Ya Rabbul Maghrabain, Ya Rabbi Haq Zahra توفیق یہ عطا ہو مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو جو عرض کربلا ہے ہر عرض سے سوا ہے اس خاک کربلا میں شہ کا لہو ملا ہے شہ کا لہو ملا ہے ہر لا دوا مرض کی یہ خاک ہی دوا ہو مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو میں بھی تو ماتمی ہوں ذاکر حسیدہ کا ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا، ہم شکل مصطفیٰ کا، اس ذاکری کا میری قسمت میں یہ صلہ ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب نماز شب میں بس یہ دعا کروں میں، کچھ دیر اس زمیں پر مجلس بپا کروں میں، مجلس بپا کروں میں، ہر ماتمی کے لب پر ہر دم یہی دعا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، یا رب حق زہرا توفیق یہ عطا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، مرنے سے پہلے یا رب دیدار کربلا ہو، بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔ سورة المباركة الفاتحة۔
محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ Karbala is still grieving, our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving, our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving, our hearts forever weeping. Our hearts cry out in such pain, our hearts cry out in such pain for the sacrifice you made. Karbala is still grieving, our hearts forever weeping. Qasim rode out to battle, he cried out to the enemy, I am the son of Hassan. Yet they showed such brutality, trampled him with the horses, his body left in pieces. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. The water is so close, yet the children are so thirsty. How could they be so heartless? These are the sons of Nabi. But wait, here is Abbas striving to get water. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Abbas clenches the filled mashk, yet doesn't drink the water, yearning to reach Ruqayya, but then his arms are severed. The water spills to the ground. The children's hopes are shattered. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Akbar was so brave when the spear tore into his chest, hiding the wound from Hussain, the spear taking his last breath. How can a father endure the death of his beloved? Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Asghar, a 6-month baby, pleading for just some water, yet he received an arrow. His next drink would be Kausar. His father stood there helpless, bathed in the blood of slaughter. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Karbala is still grieving. Our hearts forever weeping. Left all alone on the plains, you called out to Zuljana, gave your final farewell to your precious Ruqayya. It was the time to fight, time for your final sajda. Karbala is still grieving. Our out in such pain. Our hearts cry out in such pain for the sacrifice you made. Karbala is still grieving, our hearts forever weeping. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Al-Fatiha.
بر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. I will now request upon Master Mehdi Bimani to come and deliver his 2 minutes, please. Please let's welcome the young man with your loudest Nare Salawat.
That Allah is always with us. Every challenge is an opportunity to become stronger, more patient and closer to Him. Imam Hussain's stand in Karbala teaches us that even when we seem alone, Allah is with those who stand for what is right. His sacrifice preserved the true teachings of Islam and continues to inspire millions of people today. When we remember Karbala, we learn that hope is not believing that life will always be easy. Hope is trusting Allah and doing what is right even when things are difficult. May Allah help us to always place our trust in Him and follow the example of Imam Hussain alayhi salam in being hopeful, patient and courageous. Thank you for listening. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Allahumma salli ala. Assalamu alaikum jamia wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Mu'mineen car park announcement. Please do listen to the guidance of our car parking volunteers. Either park in the main mosque car park or the overflow bowling car park. This is a humble request. Please do not, and I emphasize, please do not park on Burton Street or surrounding areas. We have had very good relationships with our neighbors, and it is important that we do not upset them with inappropriate parking, especially during the busy months of Muharram and Safar, when there are a lot of number of programs throughout the day and night. Please adhere to the volunteers' guidelines. Thank you for your cooperation. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad salawat. Mu'mineen, just a quick reminder for tomorrow, Friday, the 19th of June, seminar with Sayyid Muhammed Rizvi Sahib, inshallah, will be held at our Husaini Islamic Center in the Gents Husainia. The seminar is open for both ladies and gents. Inshallah, the starting time will be around 10:30 p.m. You are all humbly requested to attend. Mu'mineen Thursday night Ruhani Majlis, sponsored by the family of Marhum Muhammad Bashir Bhai Kurji for the Saleh Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Bashir Bhai Kurji, Marhumins of Daya family, Kurji family, Bojani family, and Kul Marhumins. Majlis by Al-Haj Amir Ali Bhai, Muhammad Ali Walji for the Saleh Sawab of Marhum Muhammad Ali Bhai Walji, Marhuma Zainab Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Marhum Mohsin Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Marhuma Kanize Fatima Muhammad Ali Walji, and Kul Marhumins. Majlis by the family of Marhum Al-Haj Qasim Ali Bhai Jan Muhammad Bamani for the Saleh Sawab of Marhum Qasim Ali Bhai Jan Muhammad Bamani, Marhuma Mehrbanu Bhai Muhammad Ali Jadavji Hemani, Marhum Jan Muhammad Bhai Shivji Bhamani, Marhuma Sugra Bhai Dharamshi Megani, Marhum Muhammad Ali Bhai Jadavji Hemani, Marhuma Zainab Bhai Hemraj, and Kul Marhumins. Majlis by the family of Marhum Al-Haj Ramzan Ali Muhammad Ali Walji for the Saleh Sawab of Marhum Ramzan Ali Muhammad Ali Walji, Marhum Muhammad Ali Bhai Walji, Marhuma Shirin Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Marhuma Maryam Bhai Muhammad Ali Walji, Marhuma Salma Bhai Walji, Marhuma Kulsum Bhai Bhimji, Marhum Ali Bhai Bhimji, Marhum Akbar Ali Bhai Padani, Marhum Muhammad Karim Bhai Rahmatullah, and Kul Marhumins. Majlis by Dr. Hasnain Jafar Ali Danji for the Saleh Sawab of Marhum Jafar Ali Bhai Danji, Maruma Fatma by Jafar Ali Danji and Kul Marumins. Majlis by the family of Marum Al-Haj Amir Ali Bhai Jamal Datu for the Saleh Sawab of Marum Muhammad Taqi Bhai Karim, Maruma Amina by Haji Muhammad Abdullah, Maruma Sugra by Ramji, Maruma Amina by Mustafa Qasim, Marum Shokat by Panjwani and Kul Marumin. You are all humbly requested to recite Surah Fatiha for all Marumins and Kul Marumins. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Moment before I request Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi Sahib, there's ample space here in the front. Please be kind enough to come forward so other Mu'minin can join us as well. Bar Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad Salawat. Thank you. Mu'minin, now let's please welcome Sayyid Muhammad Rizvi Sahib for tonight's lecture with the loudest Nare Salawat.
Ya Rasulullah. Ya Aini.
Husainiyat. Bar Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أفضل الموجودات العبد المؤيد الرسول المسدد المصطفى الأمجد والمحمود الأحمد سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا صاحب الوقار والسكينة المدفون بأرض المدينة أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل وآله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين آمين يا رب العالمين. أما بعد، فقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم: بأبي ابن خيرة الإماء ابن النوبية الطيبة الفم المنتجبة الرحم صدق رسول الله الكريم صلوات. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Tonight, I want to dedicate this lecture to a very important personality, a woman who deserves a lot more of our time and our attention. This is the Queen of Samarra, the mother of Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. You know, when you go to Iraq, you go to Samarra for the ziyarah of two Imams, Al-Imamain Al-Askariyain. And when you enter the shrine of Samarra, remind yourselves that while you visit what used to be the house of Imam Ali al-Naqi al-Hadi, where the Imam was buried and then his son was buried, Imam al-Hadi and Imam al-Askari. Within that shrine, within that dharih that you kiss, that you stand in front of and you recite the ziyarah, alongside those two men are two prominent women from amongst the women of Al-Muhammad, from amongst the family of the Messenger of Allah. Of course, you have the grave, and you can look inside, you can see them. You have the grave Imam Ali Naqi al-Hadi, you have the grave of Imam al-Askari, but you have two other graves that are clearly distinct and visible. One belongs to Lady Sayyida Hakima, Salamullahi alayha, and the other belongs to a lady by the name of Sayyida Narjis, Salawatullahi alayha. This is the mother of the 12th Imam. Honor her with the loudest of your salawats. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ajil faraja. One more in the love of Sayyida Narjis, Salawatullahi alayha. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now as you enter the shrine, you stand in front of four very important individuals. Two of them, of course, are the Imams of Al Muhammad. Two of them are from amongst the 12. Whereas the other two have a direct connection to this Bayt known as Baytul Alawi, the house of Ahlul Bayt, the house of the progeny of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. You see, the ulama say, and I want to open this speech with this statement. If there is a lady who has praise from the majority of the Imams after Sayyida Fatima and Sayyida Zainab, that lady is a Sayyida Narjis. This is a huge statement. If there is a lady who has been praised by the majority of the Imams and the Prophet of Islam directly, that lady is Sayyida Narjis. But how much do we truly know about the mother of Imam al-Mahdi, without whom we wouldn't have Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam? What do we know about her life? What do we know about her seerah? What do we know about her origins, where she comes from, her ethnicity, and her trials and tribulations she went through after Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salam goes into ghaiba at the age of 5? What happens to her? Where does she go? You see, the lady Sayyida Narjis, unfortunately, has been the target of many attacks from the opposition. And by the opposition, I mean mukhalifin, those who are mukhalifin of the Shia. They say, look, the problem with the Aqidah of Mahdawiyyah, the problem with the belief in the 12th Imam, is that the Shia cannot even establish the name of the mother of Imam al-Mahdi, because there is so much ambiguity, so much ikhtilaf on the asma of As-Sayyida Narjis, the names of As-Sayyida Narjis. They say there is no lady by this name and there is no Mahdi. So they use that as a base to attack and totally reject. They do inkar, they do reject. They reject what? The Aqidah of Mahdawiyyah. There is no Mahdi. There was no child who was born in the house of Hassan al-Askari and Samarra, and nobody went into ghaiba. Why? Because if they say he's born from a lady by the name of Sayyida Narjis, but then within them they have so much ikhtilaf, what is her name? So they've used this as a point to attack the Aqidah of Mahdawiyyah. What is the reason for that? You know what the reason is? The reason is because if you gather the historical ocean that exists for this lady, the literature, the hadith corpus, it is true, you will come across multiple names for the mother of the 12th Imam. For example, she is known as Narjis, but she's also known as Maryam. And then she's also known as Sayqal. It's another name which has come up for the mother of the 12th Imam. Some of the narrations will call her Narjis explicitly. Some of the narrations refer to her as Sayqal explicitly. Some of them say Maryam. Some of them say Rayhana. Another name which has come in the hadith for the 12th Imam. Some of them say Susan. So they say, Baba, there's 5-6 names. Which name is it? Whose son is the Mahdi really? Narjis or Maryam or Sayqal or Rayhana or Susan or Fulana or who? Whose son is the Mahdi? So they say, well, look, because the Shia cannot even establish a simple name, there is no Mahdi, there is no Aqidah of Mahdawiyyah. There is nobody that by this name, no child that belongs to this mother. What do we say? We say, yes, whilst there is the truth that there is multiplicity, or there's numerous names that have come in the books of historians that refer to the mother Imam al-Mahdi with so many different names. Firstly, we say not all of the names are authenticated. Some of the names have come in the books of history by those who are open enemies of Al-Muhammad. Some of them have come from other sources other than a chain that goes back to Ahlul Bayt. That's number one. Number two, some of the ulama say the problem here is that some of them have confused the asma with the alqab. You see, you have, amongst the Arabs, the tradition was that first you're given a name, and then you're given a kunniyah, and then you're given a laqab. For example, the fifth Imam's name is Muhammad. His laqab is Al-Baqir, and his kunniyah is Abu Ja'far. Yes? But it's all the same. The names are, you can call him Ya Aba Ja'far, you can call him Ya Muhammad, you can call him Ya Baqir. It refers to the same, the fifth Imam. In the same way, it is possible that some of these names are al-qabat of the mother of the 12th Imam. For example, Narjis could be a name, it could be a laqab. Narjis is actually the name of a flower known for its beautiful fragrance. Known for its beauty and its fragrance. And so it's possible that some of them have confused, not the problem with the name, but some of them had one person had many titles. Imam Amir al-Mu'minin has how many al-qabat? 70, 100 maybe. Yes, different names. Sometimes they call him Abul Hasan. Sometimes they call him Aba Zainab. Sometimes they call him Aba Turab. But who do they refer to? Sometimes they call him Yabna Abi Talib. But they refer to one person. Amir al-Mu'minin. Imam al-Muttaqi. Ya'asub al-Din wa Qa'id al-Qurr al-Muhajjalin. Asadullah al-Ghalib. Al-Ghalib ala kulli Ghalib. Mawlana Ali ibn Abi Talib. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Yet all of whatever I just said now refers to one man and one man alone. Okay. Number two, the second point being, one of the ulama discusses this. He says, look, at that time, there's two reasons here why a Sayyida Narjis has so many names. Firstly, we say some of the names are not authenticated because they don't come from the chain or a line or a channel which goes back to Ahlul Bayt. So we reject that automatically. Number two, some of them have confused between names and titles. You can have a name and many titles. Number three, this is important. The chastity of the house of Al-Muhammad was such that nobody really knew the names of the women of Ahlul Bayt. The honor, the ghayrah, the dignity of the Imams of Al-Muhammad was such that they wouldn't even mention the names of their women in public. And this, by the way, is part and parcel of hijab. Hijab is not just to wear hijab and khalas, everything is okay. No. With hijab comes many other things. You remember yesterday in the lecture when I mentioned that the daughters of Shu'aib walked up to Musa. What does the Quran say? تمشي على استحياء قالت إن أبي يدعوك. She walked towards Musa in the most shy manner, with complete modesty. And a woman, even though she's in complete hijab, daughter of the Prophet, Shu'aib, yet despite when she walks, the Quran highlights how she walks. Because hijab is also how you walk and talk. Yes? Not just a simple cover. How you walk, how you talk, how you mingle, how you meet, what distance you keep. A safe space from the non-mahram, even in hijab. the chastity of the house of Al Muhammad. We're not talking about an ordinary house. The chastity, the purity, the nobility, the shyness of the house of Al Muhammad is such that the Imams would never openly mention the names of their women in public. And sometimes for this reason, you find that one of the neighbors of Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen in Kufa says, I didn't even know Ali ibn Abi Talib had a daughter, because I'd never seen her, I'd never heard her. Again, part of the hijab is that the man shouldn't even hear your voice loudly for no good reason. He said, I didn't even know he had a daughter until Ali ibn Abi Talib was killed. That's how much they kept away from the public eye. One of the reasons why there is a confusion amongst the daughters of the Imams, but not amongst the boys, amongst the sons of the Imams, is this reason. Some of the ulama have disagreed. Is Zainab the same as Kulthum, or is Zainab somebody else and Kulthum is somebody else? Some of them said maybe it's the same. Some of the ulama said no, maybe they're two different daughters. Maybe Zainab has the title Kulthum. Or until today we don't know. We know Imam Husain's daughters were all known as Fatima, but how many daughters did he have? Nobody knows for sure. There's ikhtilaf amongst the historians. But yet nobody has an ikhtilaf on the number of sons that Imam al-Hussain alayhi salam had. The sons are established, easy to determine. But the daughters are hard of the Imams. Hard to determine facts about them, hard to determine their names. That's one reason why nobody for sure can pinpoint a name towards this Queen of Samarra. In the words of Marhum Ayatullah Muhammad Sadr rahimahullah, he says, this is his opinion. He says the time of Banu Umayyah, Bani Abbas at that time, forgive me, was such that they knew there is a son to be born in the house of Hassan al-Askari, and Taqiyya had reached a level that to safeguard and to protect the life of this son who is to be born, the 12th Imam, and his mother, the Imam would create a deliberate confusion. And so Muhaddith al-Nuri says the same thing. There's two scholars. They say the same thing. He says sometime Sayyida Narjis would be referred to as Sayqal. And then another time she would be referred to as Susan. And then another time she would be referred to as Narjis. And another time she would be referred to as Rayhana. But it's the same, the mother of the 12th Imam. They say, these two scholars say, that there was a deliberate confusion, a deliberate obstruction that was put in place as a barrier to prevent harm, so they can create a confusion in the mind of the government and of their forces that who is the mother? Who's out of the women that are in the house of Hassan al-Askari, who's expecting? To whom will a child be born? Is it Maryam? Is it Saykal? Is it Narjis? Is it Rayhana? Is it Susan? Is it, who is it? And to finish this point, you know what is even more strange for those who say that, no, because she has 5 names in history, that means she doesn't exist and there is no aqidah as aqidah of Mahdawiyya. You know what's even more strange? There is somebody else in history, in the books of our Sunni brothers and sisters, who has narrated the most hadith. Now the ulama say over 5,000 narrations have been narrated by this person. Amongst the ulama, until today, they cannot determine what his real name is. Any guesses? Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Ahsan, mashallah. Abu Huraira. Of course, this is it's a title for him. It's a kunya for him. And why is he called Abu Huraira? Because he used to play with cats. He would always have a kitten in his sleeve. So they called him Abu Huraira, the father of the cats. But did you know amongst their own scholars, there's a difference of opinion to the extent that they have generated 30 names for him, 30 possibilities of names. Yet nobody doubts Abu Huraira or his hadith. They say, no, he is the most frequently narrating rawi of hadith. Whereas Sayyid Narjis has 5 names, and we've given reasons for it, yet there is doubt on that. So that's number 1. Number 2, once we've established that the name is not a problem, there exist such differences of opinions on many other personalities. It exists in regards to dates of birth, dates of martyrdoms. It happens over time with history being so far apart. Sometimes the loss of text or certain narrations not reaching us. Sometimes these things happen. Your own grandparents or their parents, for example, you wouldn't even know their own birthdays. They wouldn't even know how old they are. They go by speculation. I was born in that year. I was born when that happened. Okay? Let alone going back 1,400, 500 years ago, if not more. So let's put this aside. But the reality of a Sayyida Narjis and her greatness. Wallah, brothers and sisters, this is a lady who has been praised by the majority of the Imams. But the question is, who is she and where does she come from? Like she has a number of names. Amongst the ulama, it is disputed what her ethnicity or her background is. Some have said her origin is Rome, إنها رومية. She's from the Roman Empire, a Roman princess, the son of the Kaiser, the Caesar of Rome, Qaisar of Rome. Some of the ulama say that her background goes back to North Maghrib, the Moroccan area, North Africa. Some of the ulama have said, in their narrations, that she belongs to An-Nubiyya, which is the south of Egypt and the north of Sudan, Sudanese, African. And some of the narrations say that she belongs to Sindhiya, Sindh, which is in the present day Pakistan, Sindh province. However, the 2 out of these 4 opinions, which are the most prominent, are either her being a Roman princess or her being from Nubia, Sudan, Africa. These are the 2 most prominent, most popular positions of historians and ulama. I want to give you the narration of the Roman princess first, before I go to the African. The hadith has been recorded by the famous, the master of hadith, Al-Sheikh Al-Suduq, in his famous masterpiece, Kamaluddin wa Tamamun Ni'mah. Sheikh Suduq, this is his masterpiece, his famous book. He records the narration of her being a Roman princess. It's a lengthy hadith, a number of pages, but I'm going to keep it brief and to the point and just give you those points that you need for tonight. What does Sheikh Saduq narrate? He narrates this from a man by the name of Bishr. Pay attention to this, because I want to conclude with something important. The point of this hadith is not to give you what you've already heard. The point of the hadith is then connected somewhere else. But for that, I need your attention on the details of the hadith. And like I said, I'll keep it short and brief to the point. Only the points that you need for tonight. Number 1, he says, Bishr narrates this. Who is this Bishr? Bishr al-Nakhas is a rawi of this hadith. And the book said that he was a neighbor of Imam al-Hadi in Samarrah. He was his neighbor. Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam recite as-salawat. It was a rawi of the hadith. He says, in the middle of the night, there's a knock on my door. I open the door, I see Kafur. Who's Kafur? Kafur is one of the khadim of Imam al-Hadi. He says, what is the matter? He says, the Imam has called you in the middle of the night. He says, I got up, I got dressed, I put my ammam, my turban on, and I straight away reached the house of the Imam. I said, Yabna Rasulillah, I'm here. He says, oh Bishr, And the narration said this Bishr is from the progeny of the famous companion Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. Abu Ayyub is buried in Istanbul, Turkey. Ayyubiya. Okay. He's from his progeny. He says, what is the matter? My Mawla, my master. He says, go to Baghdad. You know the slave trade. In the morning, there's a slave seller, slave trader who will reach Baghdad, who will bring with him maids, female slaves. Take this letter. The Imam writes a letter in the Roman language. He says, take this letter and go and wait for this slave trader. And you will see a lot of people will surround him. And amongst those maids will be a maid who will be the most pure, will be known for her chastity. Her hijab will be immaculate, and she would refuse to be sold to anybody. And usually what would happen is when somebody would want to buy a slave, they would say, we want to see the face, we want to see who we're buying. She would refuse to show herself to anybody. When you see her, give her my letter, and the rest consider it done. He says, okay. He says, I go to Baghdad, and exactly what the Imam said happens. I wait and I watch until I see who the Imam was talking about. I go up to the slave trader, I say, I have a letter from the Imam for this lady. Now the hadith says that he gives her this letter, she reads it, she begins to weep. She cries, she kisses the letter, and she embraces it. As if she was expecting it. And then he says, who are you? Now the hadith, or this narration rather, changes. So up to here, the Rawi was Bishr al-Khannas. The latter part of the narration is now narrated by this lady who is Sayyida Narjis. She says, listen, she calls herself by the name of Malika. Ana Malika bint Yusha bint Qaisar Malik Rum. That's another name that has come up in the narrations for Sayyida Narjis, Malika. Who are you? I am Malika, the son of Yusha, the son of the Caesar of Rome. In other words, I am the princess, I am the granddaughter of the king of Rome, of the Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire, which was the superpower of that time. And so she narrates this. I want to keep it brief, and I want to end this hadith and move on. She says, my grandfather wished to marry me to one of his nephews. And so the marriage was prepared for. The priests and the bishops were called until the bishop stood in prayer to recite the marriage ceremony, that the crosses that were hanging above them fell onto their heads. And the stage upon which they were sitting crashed, came tumbling down. And so the bishop said, this is a misfortune. This is a bad luck. This wedding is cancelled. And she says, that night in a dream I saw Isa alayhi salam with Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. And I saw in my dream that the Prophet says to Isa, O Isa, I've come to ask for the hand in marriage of the daughter of one of your disciples. Because the Sayyida Narjis, according to this narration, goes back to who? Simon, one of the disciples of the Prophet Isa alayhi salam. He says, she is from lineage of one of your disciples. Isa alayhi salam says in this dream that, Ya Rasulullah, nothing would make me happier. Who is it for? He says, for my son Ali Naqi al-Hadi. Ali ibn Muhammad, for him. She says, I woke up panicking, not knowing what to do. The next night I saw a dream in which I saw Sayyida Maryam with Sayyida Fatima. In which Lady Fatima says to me, oh my child, repeat after me. Say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And she says, I said that. And then she says, say, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. And she says, I said that. He says, from that night onwards, I knew that my destiny has been sealed for someone. And many times in my dream I would see Hassan Hassan al-Askari, who she would marry. Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam. Afwan, I said Imam Ali al-Naqi al-Hadi. She was for Hassan al-Askari. And she says, I said to him, how will I reach you in Samarra when I saw him in a dream? He says, look, a battle is to take place. Your grandfather will go and fight the Muslims. Join the maids and come to the battlefield. The Muslims will defeat the Christians. There will be prisoners of war. Hide between them until you come to Iraq and we'll take care of the rest. And she says, this is how I reached the house of Ahlul Bayt. So this is the narration of her being a Roman princess. However, some of the ulama who have rejected this have come up with a few certain problems with this narration. In the words of Sheikh Ahmed Salman al-Tunisi, who's one of the ulama right now in Najaf. He's from North Africa. But he's a muhaqqiq. His books, his lectures, his interviews right now are trending. And really is somebody with great reputation when it comes to analyzing hadith and tariq. He says, look, while we accept that this narration has come up in the books many times and perhaps is the narrative, there are a number of problems with this narration. Number one is that the hadith itself is da'if in its sanad. The narration is weak. The narrator of this is somebody by the name of Abu Hussain, Muhammad ibn Bahr al-Shibani. They say this person is not a reliable, we don't even know him. Okay? So there is a huge debate on the sanad, which I'm going to totally disregard right here because it's not for the mimbar. But that's problem number one, in short. Problem number two with this hadith is that the narration states that the Imam says, go, there will be a war between the Romans and the Muslims. And this happens in the time of Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam, in other words, in the year 245 AH. He says if you convert that into the Gregorian calendar, that's 868. And if you refer to Roman history, we don't have any record of any battle that took place between the Muslims and the Romans at that time, which creates a second problem with this narration. If there was a battle in which they were taken prisoners, then which battle is it? Which war was it? Where is it documented? We haven't got any record of that. Number three, the genealogists, those who study lineage, Ansab, they say we don't know of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari of ever having a progeny. Because the Rawi of the hadith says he's Bishr from the progeny of Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. It's disputed whether he even had a progeny or not. It's not known amongst the genealogists. And finally, he goes as far as saying that if she is the granddaughter of the Kaiser of Rome, then that would be Michael III. He traces them back. He has a book on it. He said that would be Mikhail al-Thalith, Michael III, the son of Theophilus. This is in Byzantine history, Roman history. And what happened was when the father, Theophilus, died, Michael was only 2 to 3 years of age, so young that he couldn't even rule. His mother had to rule the government until he grew old enough to be in charge. And that's happened throughout history. Sometimes the king would die and the prince is too young, he's still a baby. Such was the case of the Akbar the Great, the king of Mughal India. He's too young to rule. Sometimes they're too weak to rule, sometimes they're too old. Shah Jahan was too weak. His wife Nur Jahan ruled India. She even minted a coin in her own name. They say the most powerful queen of the subcontinent was Nur Jahan, who happens to be a Shia at the same time. And your power was such that you would mint a coin in your name to tell the people who's in charge. Now you know why Ma'mun printed coins, minted coins in the name of Imam Rizvi alayhi salam? To tell people after me. Even though it was a political stunt. But that was a thing of history. Everybody would have a coin in their name if they ruled. He says, look, the numbers don't add up. If Theophilus died and Michael III is only 2, and by the time Sayyida Narjis reaches Baghdad, she's a grown woman, She's above 13, 14, 15. And that's the time of Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam. There's only a gap of about, he calculates it to be 20 to 25 years. How is it possible in 20 to 25 years this 2-year-old grows up, becomes an adult, his son is born who becomes an adult, and his granddaughter is born who also becomes an adult? So he says it's very difficult, to say the least. And so from this he concludes that though this narrative is popular and has come up in the books of Sheikh Saduq, I'm not saying it's not there, yet it can be challenged from certain angles. However, on the other side, there are ulama and scholars who have accepted it, and they have their own evidences and proofs. The likes of Al-Allam al-Majlisi, he disregards, refuses the fact that she was other than Roman. Now the other narrative with which I want to conclude of this Queen of Samarra, As-Sayyidah Narjis, is the hadith with which I began. This hadith is in Al-Kafi, narrated by Al-Kulayni from Al-Rasul Al-A'zam Muhammad ibn Abdullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. بأبي ابن خيرة الإماء. بأبي is like, it's a ta'bir Arabi. It's an expression which is used in the Arabic language. May my father be sacrificed for you. It's an expression of the Arabic language. It's not used in English. So you might think like, what does that even mean? Because it's not an English expression. But you see it a lot in Arabic literature. بأبي وأمي. May my father and mother be sacrificed for you. What does that mean? It is to show ta'zim. It is to show that you're so great. May I be your ransom. What does Rasulullah say in this hadith in Al-Kafi? May I be ransomed for the son of the best of maids. Who's that? It's not Imam Hussain and Hussein, because As-Sayyidah Fatima was not a maid. She was free. She was the daughter of Muhammad. He says, and then he continues, An-Nubiyah, the one from Nubia, Africa. At-Tayyibat al-Fam, somebody with a pure speech, with a pure mouth. Her words are pure. Al-Muntajabat al-Raham, somebody whose lineage, whose womb has been chosen by Allah. This is the prophet who's An-Nabiyul A'zam, the greatest prophet, praising the mother of Imam al-Mahdi. Pay attention to the words. May I be ransomed for the son of the best of maids, the best of slave women. Indicating that she was a slave woman. And by the way, when we hear the word slave, sometimes people get really, they jump. Because our concept of slave is what we've learned. When I was growing up in school, we learned slavery in Black History Month. It's part of the syllabus. Okay? But slavery is very different. There's many types of slavery. Of course, you have slavery like what happened to the Africans who were taken as slaves from Africa. Mistreated, at times killed, not given their rights, and total disregard of any respect or humanity. Okay? But there's also domestic slavery, where somebody comes, works, cooks, cleans, and leaves. But then there's another form of slavery, to call it slavery if you want, where they become part of the family. That Hassan and Hussein would call Fidda like mother. That Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen would say, Ilahi, Allahumma barik lana fiddatana. Allah bless Fidda. Our fiddatana, our Fidda. Fidda was Khadimat al-Zahra. She was a Khadima. She was a maid, if you like. But not maid in the slavery sense. Chained up and beaten and made to work on the, on the crops and on the farms. There's different degrees, there are different stages. And one cannot expect this even from Ahlul Bayt in any regard. In fact, As-Sayyidah Fatima would divide her days with Fidda. One day you work, I rest. Another day I work and you rest. Okay, so they were taking turn. She had become part of the family to the extent when Surah Al-Dahr, Ata al-Insan, Hinan min al-Dahr, when Surah Al-Insan was revealed, the sixth Imam says that surah is for the Ahlul Bayt in their greatness and fadilah, and Fiddah is within that surah. Fiddah is part and parcel of that, with the 5 Ashabul Kisa, Muhammad, Ali, Fatima, Hassan, and Hussein, and Fiddah. She's amongst them. Okay? Time is short, a lot is to say, so I'm going to have to keep it brief. The Prophet says in honor, may I be sacrificed for the best of the maids. Now what is the other narrative? The other narrative goes back to As-Sayyida Hakima, the same one who's buried inside Samarra. What did she say? She says, Na'am, kanat li jariya, yuqalu laha Narjis. She says, yes, I had a maid who was born in my house. Who's Hakima? The daughter of Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. She's bint Imam, Ammat al-Imam, Ukht al-Imam. She's a daughter of an Imam. She's a sister of an Imam. She's an aunt of an Imam. And she's the witness of the birth of the 12th Imam. When Imam al-Askari says, oh Aunt Hakima, oh Aunt, stay tonight. The promise of Allah will come true tonight. She said, I was the witness. And I said, oh son, Hassan Ask, from who? He says, min jariyatik, from your maid. And the hadith says that Hakima desired to marry this maid who was so pure to Hassan al-Askari. And she asks Imam al-Hassan, how would you feel if I married you to this maid that I raised? And you see, you can buy a maid. That's one thing. In those days, it was the norm. But this narration says she is born in the house of Isma and Tahara. According to this, she's born in the house of Ahlul Bayt. She's not born in Christianity and converts. She's born in the house of Ahlul Bayt. Has never been out of the house. No man has seen her. So this narrative really gains power. She's raised by a daughter of an Imam, a sister of an Imam, an aunt of an Imam, As-Sayyida Hakima. She raises her. How would you feel if I married you to her? Imam al-Askari alayhi salam says, my permission for marriage lies with my father. She says, I went to his father. And Imam says, oh Hakima, I know why you have come. I support your decision, and let's marry As-Sayyida Narjis to Al-Askari, to Imam Hassan Al-Askari. And so this marriage takes place, as a result of which, now the hadith goes back to Al-Kulaini, the hadith that I was reciting. May my father be sacrificed for the son of the best of maids, the most noble lady of the maids, the most pure lady of the maids, whose son will be sahibul ghaibah, whose son will have ghaibah, to the extent that they would say, mata aw halaka, his ghaibah will be so long that the people will say he's died, he's no longer around. Or which valley has he gone into? Where is he? The hadith goes back to. The hadith shows you that here the Prophet calls Nubian or African or that area of Sudan to the mother of Imam al-Mahdi alayhi salatu wassalam. To end, so this is the second narrative, for which there are just as many rawayat, and sometimes even more authentic than the other. However, if somebody comes on the minbar and narrates that she is a Roman princess, is that a problem? No. Because on the other side, you still have other scholars who will go with the other side. Allama al-Majlisi, Ayatollah Sheikh Ali Qurani al-Amili, marhum, was a muhaqqiq, was an expert of Mahdawiyah, has written books on the signs of Zuhur from South Lebanon. He also refuses to accept the fact that she was African. Not at the end, not that it matters. In the sight of God, the color of your skin holds no importance. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. But for here, it's not just taqwa. There's maqam istafa. They are chosen by Allah. But the narrations cannot be faulted. Let me give you this last narration and I connect with Masa'ib. The narration states that when Imam al-Askari lay on his deathbed. They'd given him in the shroud. And the Shia sat there with their heads bowed, crying, thinking who would lead the prayer. Ja'far ibn Ali al-Hadi comes forward. This is the Ja'far who was the brother of the Imam, who they call Ja'far al-Kadhab. Somebody who was they say he lied. And so because he tried to come forward and try to lead the prayer, all of a sudden they say that somebody, a boy at the age of 5, emerges from a room. بِوَجْهِهِ سُمْرَى, with a dark complexion. A young boy with curly hair, and the dark complexion comes out. But the nur on the face is such that it looks like the shining of the moon. So we have both narrations. You see, one narration says a boy emerges young with a dark complexion. But the same that we have another narration who says a boy emerges with a brightly lit face, with a white complexion. But then there's another hadith from Imam al-Baqir who says, Al-Mahdiyu min wuldi Fatima. Mahdi is from the children of Fatima. This Imam, who the Imam speaks, he's who? It's established his lineage is from Fatima. And then it says, Adamul Lawn. His lawn is dark. It's a dark complexion. Okay. Now that doesn't mean he's African. It could mean in between. Okay? Because that would require a lot of proof as well, to go as far as that. And to go far on the other side would require a lot of proof as well. So the safest option is in the middle. Somebody with curly hair and dark complexion. He says, تأخر يا عم. Oh uncle, move out the way. أنا أحق بالصلاة على أبي. I will lead the prayer for my father. And wallah, when the Imam goes into ghaibah, and with this I come to Masai. When the Imam goes into ghaibah, do you know what happens to Sayyid al-Narjis? This Ja'far goes to the Caliph at that time of Bani Abbas and he says, there is a boy who emerged from the house. There is somebody there. You don't know him? Wallah, ma ra'aytuhu qat. I never even seen him. It's the brother of the Imam and he'd never seen his nephew. Wala a'rifuhu. I don't even know him. They say, send the soldiers. He sends his soldiers. He says, go and find the boy, and if you don't find him, arrest the mother. And so As-Sayyid al-Narjis is arrested. Wallah, after the ghaibah of Imam al-Mahdi, you need to study the history of Sayyid al-Narjis. She goes from prison to prison. She's arrested. And they say to her, and they hand her over to the authorities until she's imprisoned. And some of the narrations say, at a point comes, she escapes from the prison. She's like without house, without a home. She hides in the homes of the mu'mineen until she's arrested again. And the historians say she spent some years in prison. But I say, oh Sayyid al-Narjis, you are a captive. But oh Sayyid al-Narjis, you being a captive is one thing, and Zainab being a captive is another. أجركم على الله يا شيعة آل محمد. आज़ादारों, दूसरी मुहर्रम का दिन गुजर गया और तीसरी की रात आ रही है. ये दिन जो 2 मुहर्रम का दिन है, ये वो दिन है कि जिस दिन मेरे मौला हुसैन का काफिला करबला में दाखिल हो गया. बड़ा मुश्किल दिन था. रिवायत कहती है कि इमाम हुसैन जब करबला में दाखिल हुए ना, तो आपका घोड़ा रुक गया. मौला ने जितनी भी कोशिश की कि ये घोड़ा आगे बढ़े, लेकिन सवारी आगे नहीं बढ़ती. हत्ता बाज़ मकातिल में लिखा है कि इमाम ने एक घोड़े से उतर के दूसरे घोड़े पर मेरा मौला सवार हुआ कि ये घोड़ा आगे बढ़े. 6 घोड़े तब्दील किए हैं मेरे मौला ने, लेकिन घोड़ा भी जानता था कि मेरा आका हुसैन है. میں اپنے آقا کو کیسے اس سرزمین پہ لے جاؤں کہ جس سرزمین پہ میرے آقا حسین کا خون بہایا جائے گا. اجرکم علی اللہ. جب مولا کی سواری آگے نہ بڑھی نا تو میرے مولا نے کہا بلاؤ یہاں کے رہنے والوں کو. بلایا گیا, کہا بتاؤ یہ کون سی جگہ ہے؟ کہا یہ ارض نینوا ہے, اس جگہ کو نینوا کہتے ہیں. کہا اس کا کوئی اور نام بھی ہے؟ کہا اسے غادریہ کہتے ہیں. کہا اس کا کوئی اور نام ہے؟ کہا یقال لہا کربلا. جب میرے مولا نے اتنا سنا نا تو کہا اعوذ باللہ من کرب و بلا. کہا اے عباس بس یہیں پر اپنے خیمے لگا دو, اب ہماری منزل آ گئی ہے. پھر اپنے بھائی عباس کو بلایا, کہا عباس دیکھو یہ وہی سرزمین ہے جس سرزمین پر آنے کا میں نے وعدہ اپنے نانا سے کیا تھا کہ آقا اے رسول خدا حسین کربلا جائے گا. پھر ایک ایک جگہ پر میرے مولا نے اشارہ کیا, کہا عباس یہاں پر میرا اکبر مارا جائے گا. اے عباس یہاں پر تمہارے شان قلم ہوں گے. اے عباس یہاں پر میرا ننا علی اصغر ذبح ہوگا. اے عباس یہاں پر ہماری قبریں بنیں گی. محل قبورنا, یہ وہ جگہ ہے کہ جہاں ہماری قبریں بنیں گی. بس عزادارو اتنا سننا تھا. اس کے بعد مولا نے ایک شعر پڑھا, بس جس شعر سے مولا نے اپنی شہادت اپنی موت کی خبر دی. یہ شعر یہ خبر جب جناب زینب تک پہنچی نا تو ایک مرتبہ سیدانیوں میں کوہرام بپا ہوا, بیبیوں نے رونا شروع کیا. ایک فقرہ ہے جو علماء پڑھتے ہیں کہ امام حسین جناب زینب کے قریب آئے. جناب زینب کہا بہن زینب ابھی صبر کرو, ابھی تو مصیبتوں کو شروع ہونا ہے. عزادارو روایت کہتی ہے کہ جناب زینب سواری سے اتری ہیں, کربلا کی زمین سے کچھ خاک اٹھائی ہے اور خود سونگی ہے اور کہا ہے میرے بھائی اس خاک سے آپ کے خون کی خوشبو آ رہی ہے, کیا اس زمین سے آگے نہیں جا سکتے؟ کہا نہیں بہن یہی وہ منزل ہے, اسی زمین پر ہمیں اپنے خیمے نصب کرنے ہوں گے. اجرکم علی اللہ. بس عزادارو ایک مرتبہ بنی اسد کو جمع کیا گیا. سب سے پہلا آج میرا مولا کربلا پہنچ گیا ہے, بس قریب ہے کہ حسین کی آخری منزل قریب آ جائے. بس قریب ہے کہ ایک مرتبہ ہائے پیاس کا شور بلند ہو. قریب ہے کہ حسین ایک ایک کر کے لاشیں اٹھائیں گے. میرے مولا کو یقین تھا. کہا بلاؤ قبیلہ بنی اسد کو. جب قبیلہ بنی اسد کو بلایا, کہا اے قبیلہ بنی اسد والو میری ایک وصیت ہے, مجھے یقین ہے میں یہاں پر مارا جاؤں گا, مجھے یقین ہے میں یہاں پر شہید ہو جاؤں گا, اور مجھے اتنا بھی یقین ہے کہ مجھے کوئی دفن نہیں کرے گا, میرا لاشا تپتی زمین پہ پڑا رہے گا. اے بنی اسد کے مردوں سے وصیت کی ہے, خواتین سے وصیت کی ہے اور بچوں سے وصیت کی ہے. کیا ہے وصیت میرے مولا کی؟ کہا ہے مردوں میری وصیت یہ ہے, اگر یہ ہمیں مار دیں اور نہ دفنائیں تو تم مرد ہو, تم آ کے ہمارے لاشوں کو یہاں پر دفنا دینا. پھر ایک مرتبہ خواتین کا رخ کیا ہے قبیلہ بنی اسد کی خواتین, اگر تمہارے مرد خوف سے نہ آئے نا تو تم تو خواتین ہو, تم آ کے ہمیں دفنا دینا. پھر اس میں دیکھیے میرا مولا کس قدر مظلوم ہے. پھر اس کے بعد رخ کیا بچوں کا, کہا بچوں سنو, اگر تمہارے ماں باپ ہمیں نہ دفنائے نا تو تم تو بچے ہو, تم کھیلتے کھیلتے آنا اور ایک مشت بھر خاک ہمارے سینوں پہ ڈال دینا, ہمارے لاشوں پر ڈال دینا. بس عزاداروں میرا مولا کربلا میں ہے. اب ذرا چلیے تھوڑے دیر کے لیے مدینے میں حسین کی ایک بیمار بیٹی ہے جس بیٹی کا نام سغرا ہے. بھائی جب سے مولا حسین گئے ہیں کبھی نانی سے آ کے پوچھتی ہے, کبھی جناب ام سلمہ سے آ کے پوچھتی ہے کہ میرے علی اصغر کی کیا خبر ہے, میرے کڑیل جوان بھائی کی کیا خبر ہے. ہاں عزادارو ام سلمہ کے گھر میں ایک شیشی خاک تھی. اس خاک کو رسول خدا نے ام سلمہ کو دیا تھا اور کہا تھا اے ام سلمہ جب یہ خاک لال ہو جائے نا تو جان لینا کربلا میں میرا حسین مارا گیا, میرا نواسہ شہید ہو گیا. عزادارو عصر عاشور کا وقت آ گیا. ام سلمہ محو خواب ہیں, خواب میں رسول خدا کو دیکھا. کس حالت میں دیکھا؟ آپ کی آستینیں بلند ہیں, آپ کے سر پہ امامہ نہیں ہے, آپ کے چہرے اور لباس پہ خون ہے, آپ کے بال بکھرے ہوئے ہیں, قدموں میں نالین نہیں ہے. گھبرا گئی, کہا یا رسول خدا یہ کیا حالت بنا رکھی ہے. میرے آقا رسول خدا نے کہا اے ام سلمہ تو میری حالت سے پریشان ہو رہی ہے, جا دیکھ حسین کی کیا حالت ہے کربلا میں. بس ایک مرتبہ کہتی ہے میری آنکھ کھلی, میں دوڑتی ہوئی آئی اس شیشی کی طرف جس شیشی میں وہ خاک تھی. میں نے دیکھا وہ خاک اب خاک نہیں, وہاں خون ابل رہا تھا. مجھے یقین ہو گیا کہ اب حسین مارا گیا. بازادارو خواب میں رسول خدا نے کہا کہ اے ام سلمہ, جب ام سلمہ نے پریشان ہو کے پوچھا اے رسول خدا یہ خون کیسا ہے, یہ خون کس کا ہے, تو بی بی ام سلمہ سے رسول خدا نے کہا اے ام سلمہ میں صبح سے لے کے عاشور کی عصر تک میں اپنے آقا اپنے نواسے حسین کے ساتھ رہا ہوں, اور ایک ایک شہید کا لاشا میں نے حسین کے ساتھ خود اٹھایا ہے. یہ شہداء کا خون ہے جو میرے لباس پر ہے, یہ شہداء کا خون ہے جو میرے چہرے پہ ہے. بس آخری جملہ اور زحمت تمام, میں کہوں گا اے آقا رسول خدا آپ نے قاسم کے لاشے پہ تو صبر کیا ہوگا, اے رسول خدا آپ نے جب اکبر کو برچھی لگی ہوگی تو صبر کیا ہوگا, اے رسول خدا جب عباس کے شان قلم ہوئے ہوں گے آپ نے صبر کیا ہوگا, جب اولاد اونا محمد جب اولاد زینب شہید ہوئے ہوں گے آپ نے صبر کیا ہوگا. لیکن اے رسول خدا جب قتل گاہ میں حسین کی گردن پہ شمر کا خنجر رکھا گیا اس وقت آپ نے کیسے صبر کیا ہوگا. الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون والعاقبة للمتقين إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. ماتم حسین.
یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس یا عباس. وفات ان کے لیے اور یہ وفا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے. وفات ان کے لیے اور یہ وفا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے. وفات ان کے لیے اور یہ کربلا کے لیے. جری کے پیروں کو چوما ہے روز عاشورا, جری کو پیروں کو چوما ہے روز عاشورا. یہ خوش نصیب رہے موجے الکما کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے. وفات کے لیے اور غازی کو کربلا کے لیے. وفات ان غازی کو کربلا کے لیے حسین جھولا جھلاتے تھے ان کو یہ کہہ کر حسین جھولا جھلاتے تھے ان کو یہ کہہ کر یہ کام آئیں گے زینب تیری رضا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات اور یہ کربلا کے لیے وفات کے لیے اور کربلا کے لیے لب فرات جو بازو قلم ہوئے ان کے لب فرات جو بازو قلم ہوئے ان کے بہت بڑا تھا یہ غم روح سیدہ کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات ان یہ وفا کے لیے علی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات ان کے لیے غازی کو کربلا کے لیے علم کے سائے میں آتی ہی مل گئی صحت علم کے سائے میں آتی ہی مل گئی صحت ترس رہا تھے کہ دن سے جو شفا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے علی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے کربلا کے لیے نہ جانے کس لیے حیدر نے ان کے بازو کے نہ جانے کس لیے حیدر نے ان کے بازو کے ہزار بو سے لگا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات یہ وفات کے لیے علی کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے اور غازی کو کربلا کے لیے نہ جانے کس لیے حیدر نے ان کے بازو کے نہ جانے کس لیے حیدر نے ان کے بازو کے ہزار بو سے گلے سے لگا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے اور یہ کربلا کے لیے سکینہ بابا سے اذن وغا دلا دو ہمیں سکینہ بابا سے اذن وغا دلا دو ہمیں ذرا سا کام یہ کر دو فقط چچا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے اور یہ وفا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے وفات تھی ان کے لیے اور یہ وفا کے لیے علی نے مانگا تھا غازی کو کربلا کے لیے یا عباس یا عباس یا حسین یا
سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے مل کے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے اپنی نسلوں کو سکھاتے رہو ماتوں کا ہنر سینہ در سینہ کرے بس یہ عزاداری سفر جیسے حالات بھی ہوں یہ عمل جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے مل کے ہم رہے یا ماشاءاللہ یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ہے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے لاکھ بدلے یہ زمانے کی روش اور موسم ایک پل بھی نہ رکے اشک عزا ماتم ماتم شہ کا جنون ذہن پر تاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ہے سلسلہ جاری ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عذاب ہے شمع سے شمع جلے تم اگر ذاکر شبیر ہو یہ یاد رہے چاہے اس غم کے لیے سر بھی کٹے گھر بھی جلے حرمت فرش عزا جان سے پیاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ہے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے یہ سبیلے یوں ہی آباد رہے اہل عزا اور گھر گھر پہ نظر آئے علم غازی کا یہ علم اونچا رہے یہ علمداری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ہے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ماں بہنوں کو ہے پیغام میرا صرف یہی اپنے بچوں کو جلوسوں سے نہیں روکو کبھی یہ شہادت ہے شرف یہ شرف جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ہے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ آزاد ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ ماشاءاللہ ہم رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے اپنے گھر میں بھی عزا خانہ سجانا ہے مجھے اپنے بچوں کو عزادار بنانا ہے مجھے تاکہ اس نسل میں بھی تعزیہداری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا اے امام زمان آپ کا منتظر ہے یہ جہاں بس ایک بار بلند آواز سے سب مل کے پڑھیں بس ایک بار اے وقت کے حسین اب آ جاؤ ایک بار ہو جائے ختم فاطمہ زہرا کا انتظار. بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار مل کے نام مولا. بس ایک بار. غیبت کا پردہ ان کے اٹھانے کے بعد بھی، علم و عمل سے خود کو سجانے کے بعد بھی، مولا کا ساتھ دینا ہے آنے کے بعد بھی. جانا نہیں چراغ بجھانے کے بعد بھی. ناصر ہے کون کون یہ ہونا ہے پھر شمار. ہو جائے ختم فاطمہ زہرا کا انتظار. بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار. ہے مقصد حیات یہی خاص و عام کا، اٹکا ہوا ہے سینے میں دم اس غلام کا. پورا ہو خواب نصرت شاہ انام کا. بس ایک بار دیکھ لوں چہرہ امام کا. صدیوں سے ہے امام زمانہ کا انتظار. ہو جائے ختم فاطمہ زہرا کا انتظار. مل کے بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار دین خدا کو بچائیے. بس ایک بار امن و امان ساتھ لائیے. بس ایک بار پردہ غیبت اٹھائیے. دادی کا روزہ کرتا ہے فریاد آئیے. پھر جنت البقیع میں آ جائے گی بہار. ہو جائے ختم فاطمہ زہرا کا انتظار. بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار، بس ایک. بابا اب اپنے زخم کو دھوتی نہیں ہوں میں، نوکے میں جاں پہ اشک پروتی نہیں ہوں میں. ارے دروں سے خوف آتا ہے روتی نہیں ہوں میں. راتوں کو نیند آتی ہے سوتی نہیں ہوں میں. زندان سے سکینہ کو لے جاؤ ایک بار. ہو جائے ختم فاطمہ زہرا کا انتظار. بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار، بس ایک بار. برائے تعجیل ظہور امام زمانہ باز بلند صلوات.
سورۃ المبارکۃ الفاتحہ.
مومنین سے رعایت وارثہ. السلام علیک یا وارث آدم صفت اللہ. السلام علیک یا وارث نوح نبی اللہ. السلام علیک یا وارث ابراہیم خلیل اللہ. السلام علیک یا وارث موسیٰ کلیم اللہ. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا سار الله وابن ساره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بألجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين والكان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي الحادي المهدي. وأشهد أنك العمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والأروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياؤه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبيا بكم مؤمن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم. بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله، لقد أزمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض. فلعن الله أمة أسرجت والجمت وتهينت بقتالك. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، كسدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك، أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لدي أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. زيارة علي أكبر عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد. السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وابن المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. زيارة شهداء كربلاء، martyrs of Karbala. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباء. السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداء. السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة النساء العالمين. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي ولي الناس. السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله بأبي عنتم وأمي تبتم وتابت الذي لك فيها دفنتم وفزتم فوزا عظيما. فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. السلام عليكم يا ساداتي وموالي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا سلطان أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان سيدي الأمان 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 من فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وزهورك وجعلنا من أنصارك وعوانك ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك تواه وتوسعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. صلوات الله.
Don't switch off because I've got a... بر محمد وآل Muhammad salawat. Mu'minin, I have been handed a Dure Najaf ring. If it belongs to you, please do come and collect it from me.